So what if I told you that the ultimate secret to actually getting richer is giving your wealth away? It sounds crazy, right? I mean, we're totally conditioned to believe that when money leaves our hands, our net worth drops. But in this explainer, we're going to look at some incredible source material that completely flips that logic on its head. We're diving into the concept of a divine economy. This is a system where the normal rules of math are basically rewritten by sincerity. A place where giving away your wealth doesn't diminish it at all, it actually multiplies it.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Picture this scenario for a second. Imagine taking just a few dollars, handing it over sincerely, and then literally watching it transform into this massive, exponential investment. It sounds like the absolute best financial return you could possibly dream of, right? But as we'll see as we go through these sources today, there's a catch. And it's a pretty profound one, because just as quickly as this investment can grow, a single sentence, just a few carelessly spoken words like, "Hey, remember when I helped you out?" can completely destroy that massive reward.
Section 1. The Seed of 700, the Ultimate Multiplier.
To figure out how this works, we've got to start with this brilliant analogy from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 261. The verse says, "The example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like a seed that grows 7 ears. In every ear are 100 grains." Just imagine holding a single grain of wheat right in the palm of your hand. It's tiny, right? Totally ordinary. You could so easily just overlook it or toss it out. But when that tiny, ordinary grain gets planted in fertile soil, this miraculous transformation happens. It sprouts into a strong stalk. From that stalk comes 7 ears, and then, packed into every single one of those ears, are 100 brand new grains. So from just one single seed, you're getting 700 grains. That is literally a 700x multiplier. And the really amazing part? The verse goes on to say that Allah may increase it even more for whom He wills. The source text here is making a definitive, absolutely clear statement. Charity is not a loss, it's an investment. You aren't losing what you give away, you're planting it. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive clash in how we view the world. Societal expectations constantly tell us that giving inherently makes you poorer, that it subtracts from your total pie. But on the flip side, we have this profound prophetic truth from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, recorded in Sahih Muslim. He said, "Charity does not decrease wealth." So Allah's divine economy dictates that giving actually increases what you have. It's totally counterintuitive, but so powerful.
Section 2. The Neuroscience of Giving, the Biology of Generosity. Now, if you're a highly logical, scientifically minded person, you're probably asking, okay, where's the proof? Well, let's actually look at how modern science validates this ancient wisdom. There's this fascinating 2008 study published in the Science Journal by researchers Dunn, Acton, and Norton, and it looked exactly at this dynamic of spending on others. The National Institutes of Health calls this pro-social behavior, which basically means actions intended to help others. And guess what researchers found? People who spend money on others actually report being significantly happier than those who just spend it on themselves. When you help someone else, your brain literally lights up. It triggers these deep reward pathways.
Let's zoom in on the actual biology happening inside your head when you give. It's honestly like microscopic fireworks going off. First, you get this huge rush of dopamine, which is directly tied to happiness and pleasure. Then, oxytocin floods your system, creating this deep sense of trust and human connection. And to top it off, serotonin levels spike, boosting your overall emotional well-being. So, science is literally telling us that sincere generosity chemically makes us happier, healthier, and way more connected as human beings.
Section 3. The Mistake That Destroys, When Words Cancel Wealth.
And here is where we hit a really high-stakes, dramatic turn in our explainer today. Because all of that spiritual multiplication we talked about, all that beautiful neurological reward, it can be wiped out in a single instant. Imagine a student, right? They're struggling to pay college tuition, and a friend steps in to cover it. The student is incredibly grateful. But a few weeks later, in front of a whole crowd of people, that friend loudly says, without me, you wouldn't even be studying right now. Instantly, the money is still there, sure, but the dignity of the person who received it, completely destroyed. And this brings us straight back to Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 262. It explicitly says, "Those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah and then do not follow up what they spent with reminders of their generosity or injury." This means that to secure the ultimate reward, you cannot follow up your spending by reminding people or causing injury. God doesn't just care about the physical cash that leaves your wallet. He cares immensely about the sincerity and humility that stays in your heart. Human dignity matters deeply in this divine economy. So, the really crucial point here is how this Quranic mandate lines up perfectly with modern psychology. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that reminding people of favors you've done for them actively reduces their self-esteem and drastically increases their emotional stress. You might just think you're stating a fact, but psychologically speaking, you're actually causing real, measurable harm to that person.
To perfectly protect someone's dignity, we have to look at this famous, highly authentic hadith. The Prophet, peace be upon him, describes 7 types of people who will be shaded by Allah on the Day of Judgment. And one of them is a person who gives charities so secretly that his left hand literally doesn't even know what his right hand is given. Think about that for a second. That is the ultimate platinum standard for generosity, absolute secrecy, and absolute preservation of the receiver's dignity.
Section 4. Charity without money. Healing hearts.
I actually want to pause for a second here and speak directly to the viewers who might be 15, 18, or 25 years old. You might be listening to this and thinking, okay, this is great, but I'm completely broke. I don't have thousands of dollars to just invest in this divine economy. Well, if that's you, pay close attention, because you are absolutely still a vital part of this economy. Just look at the profound contrast in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 263. On one hand, you have someone giving actual money, but causing emotional injury. But on the other hand, you have someone with completely empty pockets who just offers kind speech and heals a broken heart. And what's really interesting here is that the text reveals that kind speech is actually better in the sight of Allah than the charity followed by injury.
The Prophet taught that a good word is charity. And look at how incredibly actionable these things are for your everyday life. It costs literally $0 to encourage a friend who is having a tough time. It costs absolutely nothing to just sit and listen to someone who feels completely alone. Forgiving someone who wronged you, sending a quick, sincere text message of support, every single one of these actions is a massive, massive deposit into your spiritual portfolio.
Section 5. The danger of showing off, the washed-away rock.
As we near the end of our explainer, we absolutely have to cover one final critical warning from the source text. Verse 264 says, "Do not invalidate your charities with reminders of generosity and injury." Imagine 2 people for a second. They both step up and give the exact same amount of money. Person A gives it super quietly, seeking only the pleasure of Allah. Person B gives it loudly, seeking the applause of society. Let's see what happens to person B. The verse gives us this truly chilling metaphor to describe the reality of showing off. It describes a smooth, hard rock covered in a really thin, deceptive layer of fertile soil. From the outside, it looks like an awesome place to plant a seed, but then a heavy rain falls. The rain just completely washes away that thin layer of dirt, leaving absolutely nothing behind but a bare, unyielding rock. That washed-away rock? That is exactly what happens to good deeds when they get corrupted by the desire for public applause. In Islamic theology, this is called minor shirk. It's the act of showing off, doing good deeds just to seek the praise and attention of people instead of God. According to a hadith in Musnad Ahmad, this was actually the #1 thing the Prophet feared most for his companions. Because showing off makes your deeds look so beautiful on the surface, but underneath, they're completely empty and hollow.
So how do we actually put all of this into practice? Let's move to a very practical, step-by-step summary for all of us. First, before you do anything, check your heart and form a pure intention for Allah alone. Second, offer whatever you can. Seriously, even if it's just a smile. Third, do your absolute best to keep it hidden to protect both the receiver's dignity and your own sincerity. And finally, step back and let the divine economy do the multiplying.
The sources we've unpacked in this explainer prove that God is not counting your dollars first, He is looking squarely at your intentions. A single, ordinary seed, whether that's $1, a smile, or just a moment of forgiveness, when it's planted with genuine sincerity, it can become 700. So, as you go about your day today, looking for opportunities to give, remember that the real question you need to ask yourself isn't, how much did I give? The only question that truly matters is, who did I give it for?